Drifting at the far edge of the Zoran Empire, an alien patrol ship cruised through the silent dark, scanning for smugglers or stray freighters. When its sensors caught something strange, a massive vessel half hidden among the cold rocks of an asteroid field. At first glance, it seemed dead. No running lights, no transponder signal, only a silent shadow against the stars. But the shape was unmistakable, a warship, far larger than any the patrol had seen. The captain, curious yet confident in his superior technology, ordered a deep scan. Data flickered onto the screen's dense armor, thicker than any known design, a hull built from alloys the computer could not identify, and an odd web of energy signatures buried deep inside. The science officer frowned, unable to explain the readings. They dismissed it as some primitive, overbuilt relic, perhaps a derelict from a forgotten war. Yet something about the vessel unsettled the crew. Its silent presence felt deliberate, almost watchful, as if it was not simply drifting but waiting. The captain leaned forward, eyes narrowing, and ordered a second scan. Across the dark void, unseen by alien eyes, faint currents of power stirred within the battleship like the slow breath of something ancient waking from its sleep. The second scan began, and the bridge grew tense as streams of data poured across the consoles. What the sensors revealed was unlike anything the crew had ever seen. Beneath the thick outer armor were multiple hidden layers, strange composites intertwined with radiation shielding arranged in patterns that made no engineering sense. Every attempt to map the interior failed, the readings scattering into static as if the ship itself was fighting back. The power readings were even more unsettling. Instead of a single central reactor, there were dozens of smaller cores, each strong enough to power a warship on its own, all working together in perfect harmony. The science officer's voice wavered as he pointed out that this meant the vessel could suffer catastrophic damage and still remain fully operational. The captain's confident expression faltered, replaced by a tight, uneasy frown. This was no abandoned relic and certainly no primitive craft. It was advanced, too advanced, and yet built for a purpose no one could quite understand. Around them, the empty space suddenly felt heavier, as though the massive ship in the asteroid field had taken notice of their intrusion. The captain's instincts whispered a warning, but curiosity pushed him to keep watching. Without warning, the silent warship stirred, its dark hull coming alive with a slow, deliberate pulse of light that ran along its length like veins awakening. The alien crew froze, every eye fixed on the main display as faint energy waves rippled outward, washing over their ship and making the consoles flicker. No weapons fired, yet the atmosphere on the bridge thickened with unspoken fear. Then, in a precise and unsettling motion, a massive section of the vessel rotated, revealing rows of weapon ports glowing with an unnatural blue hue. Still, it did not attack. Instead, a narrow band transmission cut through the static, bypassing every communication lock and appearing directly on the captain's console. 5 simple words appeared in clear galactic standard: "Do not scan me again." The bridge fell silent, the hum of their own ship suddenly deafening. No one spoke, no one moved. The captain's hands hovered over the controls, torn between retreat and pride. Something about those words carried more than a warning, they carried certainty, as if the sender knew exactly what would happen if they were ignored. Out beyond the glass, the human battleship waited, its quiet presence far more dangerous than open fire. The captain's pride outweighed his caution, and with a sharp order, he commanded a third, more invasive scan. The moment their sensors reached out again, the alien ship's systems reacted violently, not from their own controls, but from the presence of the battleship itself. In less than a heartbeat, the human vessel moved, vanishing from its position and reappearing beside them with impossible speed. The view on the main screen shifted so abruptly that several crew members gasped. Their shields flared for a fraction of a second before collapsing completely, as if stripped away by invisible hands. Lights across the bridge dimmed, gravity failed, and the crew floated helplessly as their consoles went dark. Then came a thin beam of pale light from the battleship, sweeping across their hull like an examining eye. Wherever it touched, their weapons powered down permanently, targeting arrays fried, and navigation systems went dead. The entire ship was left blind, mute, and toothless in the void. Yet, just as quickly, the systems flickered back to life, though stripped of all offensive capability. No shot had been fired, no hull damage inflicted, yet the Zoran vessel was utterly disarmed. The human battleship made no threats, no demands. It simply drifted back into the asteroid shadows, turning its back on them as a predator might on prey too insignificant to bother with. The captain gripped the edge of his chair, shaken not only by the loss of his ship's strength, but by the realization that the warship had chosen to let them live. Every instinct told him this was no act of mercy. It was a demonstration, a reminder that in this part of space, power belonged to someone far more dangerous than the Zoran Empire. The return journey to Zoran space was long and silent, the crew avoiding each other's eyes as if speaking about what had happened might summon the dark shape back from the void. The captain sat rigid in his chair, replaying every moment the impossible movement, the instant collapse of their shields, the cold precision of the disabling beam. It had not been an attack. It had been a message, carved not in words, but in absolute control. When they finally reached the Imperial Command Station, the officers presented their findings in the Great War Chamber. Admirals leaned forward as the logs were played, their sharp eyes narrowing at the sensor readings. Every attempt to analyze the human ship ended in frustration. The scans were corrupted beyond recovery, as if the vessel had reached into their computers and erased the truth itself. Some in the council whispered that it was a ghost ship from the old wars, others that it was a new predator rising from beyond known space. But when the science officer mentioned the origin of the 5 words rooted in ancient galactic standard from an obscure, nearly forgotten human dialect, the chamber went utterly still. Humanity. The name hung in the air like a curse and a warning. The Zoran Empire had no formal contact with them, but the older races remembered. Stories told of a young, fierce species who fought with endless cunning, who never backed down once provoked, and who turned every weapon and every weakness they found into a tool for victory. The admirals wasted no time. A new standing order was issued to all fleets. If you encounter a human warship, do not scan, do not hail, do not follow. Leave immediately. The captain signed the report and knew it would be studied for decades. Yet deep inside, he understood what the paper could not say. What had come upon them in the asteroid field was not the full strength of humanity, only a single ship, perhaps even a single captain, showing restraint. Somewhere in the uncharted dark, that battleship still roamed, patient and unseen, waiting for the next empire foolish enough to disturb it. And if that day came, there would be no second warning.